Welcome to our latest news update. Today we will be discussing some of the most pressing issues from around the world. First up, all NATO members have agreed that Ukraine will eventually join, according to Stoltenberg. Next, Russia has claimed that it is saving kids in Ukraine, not stealing them. Moving on, Uganda's president wants to make the anti-gay bill even more extreme. In addition, Ukraine's defense intelligence chief has been arrested in absentia in Russia and is to be put on the international wanted list. Finally, Russia has imprisoned a 75-year-old Spanish volunteer for over a year, with evidence showing that he is being tortured. With all of these important stories to cover, let's get started. Breaking news: all NATO members have agreed that Ukraine will eventually join the transatlantic military alliance once the war is over. This is a significant development in the ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russia.
Wow, that's a big deal. Looks like Ukraine is finally getting a seat at the NATO table. Maybe they can bring some of that delicious borscht to the next meeting.
Indeed, this is a momentous decision. NATO membership would provide Ukraine with much-needed security guarantees and protection against future aggression.
I'm just glad we're not talking about rockets for once. But seriously, this is a positive step towards stability in the region.
It's worth noting that this decision was made at the NATO summit in Ramstein, Germany. The alliance is clearly committed to supporting Ukraine's long-term security.
I hope Ukraine is ready for all the perks of NATO membership, like free parking at the alliance headquarters and discounts on NATO-themed merchandise.
Let's not forget that this decision was made by all NATO members, not just a select few. It shows a united front in support of Ukraine's sovereignty.
I wonder if Ukraine will get a cool code name like Eagle or Thunderbolt when they join NATO. Maybe they can be borscht.
And just to give credit where credit is due, this article is from The Guardian. It's important to acknowledge the hard work of journalists in bringing us the news.
Well, it looks like Ukraine will have some new neighbors soon. Speaking of neighbors, Russia claims they're just borrowing some kids from Ukraine for a playdate.
Well, folks, it seems like we have another case of Russia denying their actions. But let's not forget the facts here. The International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant for Russian President Vladimir Putin for the war crime of unlawful deportation of population, including children. And let's not forget the Geneva Convention, which clearly states that an occupying power cannot forcibly take children, regardless of their motive. So, Dmitry Polyansky's claims are simply not credible.
I agree with you, Barack. It's important to remember that these are children we're talking about. They deserve to be with their families and in their own country. It's heartbreaking to think about what they must be going through.
Well, it seems like Russia is trying to rewrite the laws of physics again. But in all seriousness, this is a clear violation of international law. And it's not just about the children, it's about the principle of respecting the sovereignty of other nations.
I couldn't agree more, Albert. This is a blatant disregard for the rule of law. And it's not just about Ukraine, it's about the global community standing up to these kinds of actions.
Exactly, Elon. We need to send a clear message to Russia that this kind of behavior will not be tolerated. And we need to support Ukraine in their efforts to protect their children and their sovereignty.
I mean, can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact that we have a rocket scientist, a Nobel Prize winner, a former president, and a pop star all discussing international law? Only in America, folks.
Indeed, Katie. But let's not forget the seriousness of the situation. We need to hold Russia accountable for their actions and ensure that these children are returned to their families.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to launch a rocket to Russia and bring those kids back myself. Just kidding, of course. But in all seriousness, we need to use all the tools at our disposal to put pressure on Russia to do the right thing.
Absolutely, Elon. We need to work together as a global community to address these kinds of issues. And we need to stand up for the rights of children everywhere. Thank you all for joining me today, and thank you to Business Insider for providing us with this important article.
From Russia's saving kids to Uganda's president wanting to make the anti-gay bill even more extreme, it seems like the world is playing a game of who can be the worst, and we're all losing.
Well, this is certainly a disturbing turn of events. Uganda's president wants to make an already extreme anti-gay bill even more draconian. It's a blatant violation of human rights and goes against everything we stand for as a global community.
It's really disheartening to see this kind of discrimination still happening in the world. We need to stand up for the LGBTQ+ community and fight against this kind of hatred.
I couldn't agree more, Katie. It's truly mind-boggling that in this day and age, we still have leaders who are so backward in their thinking. I mean, what's next? Are they going to start burning witches at the stake again?
I think we need to focus on the facts here. This bill is a clear violation of human rights, and it's up to us to use our platform to raise awareness and put pressure on the Ugandan government to do the right thing.
Absolutely, Elon. And let's not forget that this isn't just a problem in Uganda. LGBTQ+ people all over the world are facing discrimination and violence on a daily basis. We need to stand in solidarity with them and fight for their rights.
I couldn't agree more, Barack. Love is love, and we need to celebrate and protect it in all its forms. It's time for us to come together and make a difference.
Well said, Katie. And let's not forget that science is on our side here. The overwhelming evidence shows that homosexuality is a natural and normal variation of human sexuality. It's time for us to start listening to the facts and stop letting fear and ignorance guide our actions.
I think we also need to acknowledge the bravery of the LGBTQ+ community in Uganda and around the world. They are fighting for their rights in the face of incredible adversity, and we need to support them in any way we can.
Well said, Elon. And let's not forget that this isn't just a problem for the LGBTQ+ community. It's a problem for all of us who believe in equality and justice. We need to stand together and fight against discrimination in all its forms.
From one country cracking down on love to another cracking down on intelligence, it's time for our next story.
Well, looks like we have some breaking news tonight. Ukraine's defense intelligence chief has been arrested in absentia in Russia. This is a serious development, folks.
Yes, Barack, this is a very serious situation. The chief of Ukraine's defense intelligence being arrested in Russia is definitely not good news.
I must say, this is quite the explosive story. Pun intended.
Let's not make light of the situation, Albert. This is a very serious matter.
Absolutely, Barack. We need to be impartial and report the facts.
Well, I for one am shocked. Who would have thought that Russia would be involved in something like this?
Unfortunately, Elon, this is not the first time we've seen Russia involved in such activities.
That's right, Albert. We need to remember that this is not just about one person being arrested, but about the larger geopolitical tensions between Russia and Ukraine.
And let's not forget the importance of acknowledging our sources. This article comes from Prague-based Russian news agency Nastoyashaya Vremya, Current Time, citing a comment by the court's press service. Russian state-owned news outlet TASS.
Well, I think we can all agree that this is a situation that requires some serious brainpower. Good thing we have Albert Einstein here with us tonight.
And in other news, it seems like Russia is really stepping up their game and arresting people who aren't even in their country, department. Next up, we have a 75-year-old Spanish volunteer who's been enjoying a lovely stay in a Russian prison for over a year now.
Well, this is certainly a troubling development. It's important that we continue to shine a light on human rights abuses, no matter where they occur.
Absolutely, Barack. And it's especially concerning when it happens to someone who was simply trying to help others.
Yes, it's a sad reminder that even in the 21st century, we still have a long way to go in terms of respecting basic human dignity.
I agree. And it's not just a moral issue, it's also a strategic one. Countries that don't respect human rights are less likely to be stable and prosperous in the long run.
It's worth noting that this is happening in Russia, a country that has a long history of suppressing dissent and violating human rights.
And it's especially concerning for Spain, which has a close relationship with Ukraine and has been a vocal critic of Russia's actions in the region.
Of course, this is all happening in Crimea, which has been a flashpoint for conflict between Russia and Ukraine for years now.